If you find that your senses start to become really, really heightened to the point that everything is hurting, you need to get out of Dodge. Hello, and welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. So one of the challenges when you are fairly newly diagnosed or new to this journey is that you maybe haven't experienced meltdowns before or for a long time. You might find that you're experiencing shutdowns rather than meltdowns, and you might find that you do, but you don't know what to do with that information, or you don't know, how to deal with it. Especially if you've hit burnout, then it could be possible that you've started having meltdowns and you don't remember having them before. So new funky experience that's making you panic. This video is for you. I have covered this slightly before in my Christmas video. So if this resonates with you and you want more, feel free to go back to the Christmas video and I talk about the challenges of Christmas for us, and that might be helpful. In this video, I want to talk particularly about this edge when we start to notice that we might be going into meltdown. Now, first of all, this may not be something that you're doing yet. Don't panic. It will come to you. This is something that I did not have 5 years ago at all. I would say that I didn't really have meltdowns. I had shutdowns. I would also say that I couldn't have told you that I was having shutdowns because I didn't really know what was happening in those moments. And I just thought I was being quiet. I couldn't have said much more than that. Definitely, I had quite a regular urge to hide under my desk. I never did, but it was definitely there. And I did have real challenges when I came home from work, but I couldn't have explained to you what was happening, why it was happening, what it meant, nothing. The first thing is, as you go along this journey, as you start to pay more attention to yourself, or as you are forced to pay more attention to yourself because you hit burnout or perimenopause, then you will start to experience more things that are less controllable. You will feel like you have less control over your life and the way that you react to things sometimes. You may find that you inflame very quickly, or that you drop very quickly, that you go from being totally fine to absolutely exhausted very, very quickly. As this starts to happen, at first you're just going to be baffled, obviously, but then you're going to get to a point where you're going to start to notice the signs. That's really what we're talking about today. Once you get to the point where you're starting to notice the signs, it's sort of a little bit scary because you can see it coming, but then at the same time, it gives you more choices about what you're going to do about it. Last month, I went with my family on holiday for 3 weeks. Most of the time I was driving. Usually I live by myself. My parents live like 15 minutes down the road. But for this whole period, we were living in the same house. I knew that was going to be a problem. I also knew that we were all going to get progressively tired as time went by. We went to my grandma's for 3 days. And this is where I knew we were going to run into a problem because it's much more stressful at my grandma's house. Unfortunately, we were traveling up on a Friday and the traffic was really super slow. So the 2.5 hour journey ended up taking us 5.5 hours. I was driving the whole time. I was exhausted by the time we got there. It was also very hot in the house, which wasn't very helpful. I could feel the tension. It's not really tension for me. It's like a vacuum. It's like I'm disappearing into a hole. It's a gaping hole. You know those movies? If you think back to like the cowboy movies, where they're galloping along on the horse across the top of a plateau, and then it's like, they come to the end and there's this just enormous drop down into this gaping chasm. Hello, Grand Canyon kind of a situation. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Doodly doodly doo, away we go. We're going along perfectly fine. And then where did the road go? What happened? And that's kind of the problem, is very often this happens when I'm going at full tilt. I've been go at this point for 2 weeks. I've tired myself out trying to keep everybody else okay, satisfied, buoyant, and trying to maintain my own energy levels. And I ran out of steam. At that point, the tiniest thing can push me over the edge. Tiniest thing. At Christmas time, it was my mom wanted me to make icing for the Christmas cake. And in the process of making icing, you got to whip the eggs, right? And I was using a hand mixer and she wanted me to use the electric mixer. And already the hand mixer, I don't know, you guys must have done it before. metal on a glass bowl. It's not good for the old ears. Not a good feeling, not a good sound. And the idea of using the electric one was a hard no for me. And she was stressing out. So she was already getting frustrated with me. And she's like, why didn't you just... And that was it. I fell over the edge, had a proper meltdown, evacuated the premises, had a big cry upstairs. I hate crying so much. This time I didn't get to the crying. Bonus. This time I saw it coming and said, I'm at my limit. That's as much as I can manage. I gotta go now. And I think she could tell because I was starting to react. So for me, the thing is, it starts to become very quickly sensory. Very, very quickly. So it goes from me feeling like everything's fine, we're doing fine, everything's fine. And then very quickly I run into a wall where sound becomes painful, very, very painful. And it isn't normally I can cope with quite a lot. I do wear my headphones a lot, which helps. But on a general normal day, I could have done that whisking and I would have been fine. But the sound becomes like, I'm like wincing at the sound of things. Chopping on a glass board. Every one of them sounds like absolute agony. It could be the sound, it could be the smell. If there's a really strong smell, like my auntie was wearing perfume. So I knew that was going to be an issue. She got into the car and I was like, oh no. Perfume already can seem very smelly to us, but suddenly it becomes overpowering and it's just way, way too much. So if you find that your senses start to become really, really heightened to the point that everything is hurting, you need to get out of Dodge ASAP. There is no point trying to be nice to people at this point. There is no point trying to make anybody else feel better. There's no point trying to explain yourself to anybody else. No, you need to leave. If you can, leave and go outside. If not, leave and go into your room, shut the door, put your noise cancelling headphones. If you don't have any, this would be the time to buy your noise cancelling headphones because they are probably the best investment you're going to have. If you have no money like me, don't right now, but as soon as you can afford them, get yourself some noise cancelling headphones. And I don't mean the in-ear ones. No, we're not about looking cool anymore. No. Coolness went out of the window a long time ago. We are about self-preservation. No, you want the big, fat, over-the-ear ones. Put stickers on them, paint them. I don't care, but not these ones, no. Because these ones, you're also then coping with the pressure of how it feels inside your ear. So you're doubling the problem because you're giving yourself another sensory overload thing at the same time is the main reason. But watch out for the warning signs. Everybody's going to be different. But after you've had a couple of meltdowns, go back each time and review. What did you feel? How did it feel? What was happening? What do you think might have helped? So that when you start noticing those things coming next time, you can be like, alert, alert, we are heading towards a crevasse. How do we turn around? Sometimes you just have to have the meltdown. So that's the first thing. If you are struggling with this and you don't like it, yeah, you and me both. But you may have no choice. And sometimes it's better to go through it, cry, let yourself cry. I know I hate it so much, but let yourself cry. You will feel better because of the crying afterwards. If you have the space and the privacy and the environment to get a little violent, get a little violent. A lot of us struggle with that, especially if we're high masking. And that's why a lot of us tend to shut down rather than meltdown because it's not good for the mask. It's not good for the mask to have meltdowns. That's like defeating the whole purpose of the mask. So we had shutdowns instead because nobody knows when you're having a shutdown, you just sit there. But you're going to have to start getting used to them because probably it's not going to go away anytime soon and it might just get worse. So really this is about managing the situation. You're an adult, right? So that's the difference. For kids, they have very big emotions, very little bodies, and not much experience of knowing what to do to help themselves. You are a grown-up, so you can do some research on yourself and you can try and figure out what helps, what doesn't help, what's good, what's bad to support yourself. That's what we're working on. That's the kind of thing that's really, really helpful so that you can get used to looking after yourself, get used to noticing what's coming and taking evasive action. And evasive action might be a nap. It might be loud music. It might be going outside and sitting on the grass and meditating. It might be walking on a beach. It might be sitting with your back up against a tree and asking the tree to please God take away all this excess energy that you have. They will. They might take a little too much, but they will. You need to find coping mechanisms. You need to not get mad at yourself that it's happening, because that's going to make it worse. And you need to start noticing when it's coming. And as far as possible, try to prevent yourself from getting to the point where it's going to come. So start noticing what's happening in the run. For me, I hadn't slept well enough. I had too much time behind the wheel. Ultimately, I was exhausted. The overwhelm of going to my grandma's house is partly the disconnect with how it used to look to how it looks now. My grandma's house was never a peaceful place for me to be, but the garden was. She has a massive garden. And when I was a kid, my granddad was still alive and he was very much taking care of it. And it was an amazing garden. And now it's extremely overwhelmed with nettles and overgrown. And my cousin has started taking chunks out of it, literally just knocking bits down. So the house is still the same. The house was always a very overwhelming place for me to be because my gran and I didn't get on when we were younger. It was very difficult to be in her house. The only peaceful place was the sun lounge where I used to read a lot, and that's gone. So every time I go to my grandma's house now, it doesn't look like it should. And I feel like I should set on and do some weeding or cutting back or composting or something. And I can't do any of that. There's no point. Nobody's going to appreciate it. It's not going to help the situation. And it's just going to make me more depressed. So that's the other part of the overwhelm. When I go there, on top of everything else, there's this feeling like everything is wrong and I need to fix it and I can't. And that could be enough to set you off on a meltdown, that by itself. People not behaving like you think they should behave, people saying bad things, the world as it is, exhaustion with the current situation, feeling impotent in the current situation. All of these things are just easy setups for meltdowns. If you have perimenopause, anyway, I hope that's been useful. Please take care of yourselves. Be nice to yourselves. If you have any tips or things that you can share with us about how you manage meltdowns, how you know it's coming, all of those kind of things that I've talked about, please do drop them in the comments because it's really helpful for people to understand and help identify, oh, that's the same as me, that's different to me, or I do it this way, whatever. If you are interested in working with me, you can head over to the Patreon. I have a 30-minute session and a 1-hour session you can sign up for to help you if you are starting or partway down this journey into neurodiversity and you're feeling a bit lost and overwhelmed. If you're interested in digging into your gender and sexuality, I have a course for you over there with that. If you would like to come along to some groups, please let me know that in the comments because that's the next thing that I'm thinking about doing and I'm curious if there's an interest in it. I'll see you next time. Have a great week. Bye.